Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, my fellow YouTubers. Welcome to another edition of Airy Sky Rita Lee's video blog. I'm grabbing my coffee. For you new to the channel, hit the like, subscribe, thumbs up button. Helps with the YouTube algorithms. For the comer backers, welcome back. So, school is now in session. A couple people emailed me and said, "Hey, teacher, you don't say that in the beginning. I love it." Well, let's just say I saw a lot of comments. A lot of the moderators went through and looked over the comments of Tildor. And it was interesting, talking about cheap beer and everything else last night. I'm having a course because I want to get this video done as fast as possible. This coffee can empty. Well, it's beer time. So Chloe, I want to talk first about prepping. Food bank's been getting kind of different today. Chloe went to the food bank for herself. She always does. Turns out there's something coming down the pipe that's major, okay? Major. Let me see if I can get that. There we go. And that is, are you ready for it? They're doubling the food up, doubling the flour up. Couldn't believe when I emptied the damn cooler, it's full. Chloe was saying it's a new experience. They run around in these little carts. And you fill it up, then they make you load your stuff up in your little shopping cart or cooler, and then you zip home. I could not believe this stuff. 2 pounds of hamburger, 8 pork chops, 2 pounds of Tillamook cheese. And Zoe's sitting there like, "Oh, yeah, that's great, that's great." We were talking, Zoe and I, and then some other people. So anyways, Zoe... Zoe and I were talking about Prepper's appliances, right? She's foul in love with the Prepper's lists and the lists on Amazon, so she's putting herself together a Prepper's list. Now, for some of you out there making Prepper's list for yourself, I have one that I can show you guys, but I've already went through it. 1/4 of the stuff on the Prepper's list is sold out. I will leave a link in the live chat if you wish. Prepper's list is 1/4 sold out. So today we want to talk about appliances. Now, Chloe was like, "Oh, how's that can affect things?" Simple. You get 150, 200 pounds of flour sitting around in your preps room. You can start making bread. All you need is a bread maker and yeast. All into a sourdough starter. You can live on bread. I was just pricing out bread. The local national average, if you don't buy the El Cheapo, is $3.50 a loaf minimum. You get a bread maker for 100, 125, 150 bucks. You can start making bread every day, and then you have bread. Then that's one less thing. You can make bread. And on top of that, I'm teaching Chloe a few tricks with flour. She's like, "Oh, why do I need to know about flour?" Simple. If your mom didn't teach you and give you a boot in the ass, I will give you a boot up in the ass, metaphorically. Flour could be used as a compound or as an alchemist ingredient, as some would say, to make gravy. Let's just think cooking's like a form of alchemy. Throw in a little flour, throw in a little this, throw in a little that, this. Next thing you know, you got gravy. And then you just throw in some hamburger and you got hamburger gravy. And sop it up with your bread. I mean, literally, truth's in the pudding. Thing is you got to look at appliances you're going to use. But also, for a prepping situation, not a lot of preppers talk about if you have all these appliances laying around, what's going to happen in a bug out situation? What are you going to take? That's why you need to train yourself with a bread maker and train yourself how to make bread in a Dutch oven. If you can master those two things, then you basically mastered the art of making bread, which would leave you to only think of other appliances you might need for your prepping. And that is some big, big stuff. And that is where I come in with, I'm not going to go and put in an entire appliance list, okay? The appliance list is pretty interesting, right? Like, for example, people say, "Oh, we just go and spend $3 or $4 for those little aluminum tube jobbies, and then you throw in on the stove and you cook your popcorn that way." No. What you do is you get an air popper for 30 bucks, buy yourself an 8-pound jug of popcorn, dump in what you want, make popcorn. If you have the butter, melt a little butter, stick it on your popcorn. You've just saved a lot of money by not paying for the aluminum jobby that cooks on the stove. Now, some say, "Oh, well, what if you're out camping?" So, anyways, point being, Americans, you need to buy supplies that you need. And, you can sit there and you can buy a bread maker, you can buy a popcorn maker, you can buy a sandwich maker, you can buy this. A lot of people sit there and say, well, how many appliances do I need? Not many. I mean, if you know what you're doing, you can make less and less, but each appliance will take up a lot of space, and that's where you go. A coffee grinder, you do know a coffee grinder, if you clean a coffee grinder, you get a good professional grade coffee grinder. Your coffee can last a lot longer in whole bean form. You grind as you need it. But did you also know that a coffee grinder, if you clean it completely at all times and keep it clean, it will also be good to chop. You can use it to chop nuts. Yeah. And so, therefore, a lot of you preppers out there don't realize it does dual purpose. Now, a lot of preppers say to me, oh, well, what about appliances like the griddles? Well, the thing is you can buy a basically cast iron griddle, and then you have oil, right? And you just keep it prepped and seasoned. What's the point in buying one of those electric ones where you plug it in, because you got to find the cable, then you have this cable, then you have that cable, you have everything put together properly. I mean, literally, you got to ask yourself how much. And by the way, if you're prepping and you have to bug out your griddle, you basically, if you know what you're doing, you carry your griddle with you. But the question is how big a griddle you need and how much bacon you're going to be cooking. Now, remember, when you do a griddle, they have a drip pan. You just pull out into the coffee can, and that's it. Same goes with sausages. Same goes with that. A griddle is also good if you want to cook like pork chops, steaks on a griddle. Thing is, I wouldn't recommend it, but you can do it. The thing is all that fat goes into a fat pan and collects down at the bottom, and then you dump it when you're done. But then you have to deep clean the griddle, right? So, point is, you got to look at the big picture when it comes to prepping. Do you prep for, in home or out of the home? Now, if you're in home and you know your home is secure and you're not going to lose your home, then all you got to do is buy the proper tools to use, right? Like a griddle, coffee grinder, whole beans preferably, or you buy a bread maker. Now, I was always all hyped about a bread maker. Oh, you got to get a bread maker. Yes, well, bread makers cost money, and that's the thing. I put that down on my list. Do I need to get bread maker first? Or do I get the shopping cart first? Shopping cart's priority because you got to make your priority list. Shopping cart carries more groceries. Bread maker comes afterwards. Bread maker makes bread. So you got to weigh the pros and cons. Now, a lot of you preppers out there say, I don't get it. You don't need to get it. What you need to do is ask why. Yeah, think about it. When you are literally running around buying stuff, you got to look at the big pictures. Yeah, the big pictures, okay? I mean, literally, when you sit there and you say, okay, I want to get a bread maker too, Rita, I'm going to get a bread maker. What do you recommend? Prepper's List, which I'm getting for you now, has 2 bread makers with great reviews. I went based off of reviews times. I didn't go based off of stinginess. Remember, I chose 2 bread makers. The Prepper's List was only an example, right? Now, a lot of people say, oh, well, what about a air fryer? Do I look like I'm recommending an air fryer for you currently? No. Why I'm not recommending an air fryer currently? Because no one needs to buy an air fryer unless you're planning to use it all the time. I was telling Zoe about a few secret tips and tricks on how to prep. One of the things I was talking about, right? But here's the Prepper's List, okay? Prepper's List will basically tell you everything you need currently, right? You can choose your own. But a bread maker would come in handy because, for one, when you're doing a bread maker as a prepper, you can literally basically let the bread rise in the machine and then throw it on in the morning after you got it prepped. And every morning, you bake your bread while you're having your coffee because it's already raising overnight. And then you just throw a button, push a button, bink, you got your bread. Say you need to make double loaf because you got Chloe that day and you want peanut butter jelly sandwiches. You can invest in a second bread maker and have 2 of them so you can make 4 pounds. So, for example, let's just say you got a good home, your good situation, and you're living comfortably, okay? And an SHTF situation, let's just say Great Depression, right? And you're still getting your electricity covered, right? or you're paying it yourself, right? And you're surviving. All right. And let's just say they found a way to keep your benefits going or whatever, right? So you don't lose your thing, right? Let's just say it's just for hypothetically, I'm going to throw this in here, right? Say you got Chloe, say you got myself, and say Zoe's visiting, right? Instead of running 2 bread makers, you run 3, so you get 2 pound loaves every day, right? Or 2 pound, 4 pounds. So you're making 4 pounds. While you're having your morning coffee, you got 1 bread maker making sourdough, 1 making wheat, or 2 sourdough, whatever, right? So you have it set up that way. So say every one of your family, you have a family of 4, right? 2 bread makers. You have a family of 6, 3 bread makers. Family of 8, 4 bread makers. Just basically, and that money will basically come in handy because you're paying $3.50 a loaf. You see, as a prepper, a lot of people don't talk about the appliances, but some people say, oh, well, what about the like the griddle or the sandwich maker? Someone is talking about these little sandwich makers, right? In a crap situation thing, are you going to be sitting there with a double sandwich maker making egg McMuffins or croissant McMuffins or Chloe McMuffins or Zoe McMuffins or Tildor McMuffins? No, you're basically sitting there. Yeah, you're limited on space. Okay, you're limited on your space. So what do? You turn around and you are limited on space. You are limited on so much space that it is not funny as funny can be. Yeah. So what happens? I'll tell you, you're limited on space. So you got to literally look at your thing. Now, a lot of people finance everything. So when the shit hits fan, they're going to be suffering the worst. It doesn't matter if you're armed or not armed. You're going to still suffer. You're not going to be able to basically have murder on your hands. I mean, you can't just go murder people for your groceries or your bread, or someone else's bread. But if you know how to handle yourself, you're fine, right? So this is why I'm here to teach you. Today's lesson is each appliance has a pro and con. You don't go and buy yourself an electric skillet, one of those like electric frying pans. You plug in and you have the glass lid and you can make like biscuits, gravy, or whatever. You don't buy those. Some people say, oh, it'd be cheaper to buy a roasting pan. Maybe. But it's also cheaper to buy a roasting an oven roast that holds 20-pound turkey and then throw it in your oven right there. Thing is, you're buying a selected oven roaster for like $150. You might use it for a long time, but the more stuff you got cluttered, the more room you're going to need to store it. So your best bet is to limit what you're doing for prepping. Now, for example, if you're prepping a turkey a month, you might want the electric roaster. But if you're not prepping a turkey a month, you might want a roasting pan for your oven. I mean, you got to look at your pros and cons to every item you're going to invest in a prepping situation. You could sit there and say, oh, I bought 27 appliances for my wife, right? Your wife's not going to be sitting in the kitchen all day, every day, prepping everything from canning to deep frying to making donuts for you to making beef jerky. I mean, some people say, well, what about a dehydrator, a food processor, or a dehydrator, or whatever, right? Thing is, you got to look at each item and how you're going to apply it to your tools list. You go and buy a dehydrator and say, okay, wife, I bought a dehydrator, and she's sitting there, got out of the kitchen. She's going to finally say, what am I supposed to do with it? Well, you dehydrate jerky. Then you got to buy bulk of steaks and dehydrate it. I mean, literally, sometimes it's cheaper to buy the stuff already made, but it also depends on what cut of meat you're getting and what you're making jerky wise. For example, what if you made well, let's see, dehydrator. Okay, what about a food processor, right? You buy a food processor for prepping. You're like, oh, yes, I got a food processor prepping dehydrator. Well, that will come in handy because you can chop your veggies, dehydrate your veggies. You can chop your cheese and shred it, put it in Ziploc bags, mark it, and then freeze your shredded cheese. Then you don't have to buy shredded cheese that's already dehydrated or processed, you see, that. Yeah, so anyways, the point is Higgins emailed me, by the way. No, my list didn't get Higgins. It's just I'm getting ready to watch videos on this anyways. So, anyways, the point is you got to ask yourself, what tools will you be using in a prepping situation? All right, Zoe and I were talking about this. You can't just sit there, there's two things I want to talk to you about, okay? There's the person that's addicted to lists. Okay, they make lists, they make plenty of lists, but they don't buy anything, right? I've filled probably about 40% of my list over the last 13 to 15 years. Okay, then there's the people that make lists, but that's all they do. They look, they think, they look, they think, they don't buy. Thing is, if you're going to make a list, you need to basically make sure you knock off what's on your list and then fill it as you go, because it's not going to get any easier than the shit hit the fan situation. You're going to be wondering, a lot of people say, oh, what about buying a home brew kit? Well, yeah, if you want your beer to sit for 30 days before you drink it, help yourself to buy a home brew kit. That's Prepper's idea. If they're going to basically turn around and cut out alcohol completely from the grocery stores, you got to buy your brew kits. You got to buy your brew bottles. You got to buy your brew bottles. You can even buy a whiskey home brew whiskey kit and age it for years and just leave it in your garage. You can brew your beer, you can brew your wine, you can brew your gin, you can brew your potatoes. The point being is when you buy or when you brew for the people, right? Or for yourself. Thing is in a prepping situation, you got to ask yourself, if you're a beer drinker, you're going to fucking stand around and be like, there's no beer. Or you're going to sit there ahead of time, Tell Laura said the other day, oh, you're 5 steps ahead. More likely 40 steps ahead, maybe even 50. Because think of it. If the shit hits the fan and you have a banking collapse and or an Article 5 from NATO, think about it, people. You're not going to get your beer. You're going to basically get everything you need, extra beer kits and everything else, and brew your own. Put it in 12-gallon bottles or 12-ounce bottles, seal it up with the seal toppers, and then let it sit until it ages properly. Until it ages properly in a cool, damp place, and then you make your own damn beer. You're not going to be buying Coors. You're not going to be buying things. Think of everything that is in a prepper's needs. And then you turn around and you buy, the beer kit, that's a good idea for your beer drinkers. Your wine kit, that's a good idea for your wine drinkers. But for the rest of you out there, you got to ask yourself, how many appliances do you need? And what appliances do you need? I'd get the bread maker and the coffee grinder, because you can grind whole bean up anytime. I have 2 coffee grinders. And you say, oh, what about a crock pot? Well, if power ain't out, a crock pot will come in handy for slow cooking your foods. That's the thing. But if you're at home and you're manning everything, a lot of people have crock pots because you just throw everything in it, and then you basically turn around, and then you throw stuff in there, and then you throw stuff in there, and you stir it up, and then you basically close the lid. I've told, but then you get some hoity-toities out there that say, oh, I need a crock pot that's like 2-ounce crock pots, 2 ounces, little small ones, right? The real small ones, like the 1-liter crock pots, or 1 quart crock pots, little teeny ones. But they need ones that's like lined up like a course trail where they got 3 or 4. You see, so they want 3 or 4 different dishes. But at the same time, that's 3 or 4 little burners, which means your electricity goes through the roof. So to me, whatever floats your boat, it's your money. Me, I would just throw everything in one damn crock pot, put the lid on it. I've cooked chilies, I've cooked stews, I've cooked beans, I've cooked. One of my favorite dishes is creamy herb chicken stew. And you need snow peas, snap peas, little cream at the end. Turns out the best stew in the world, I'm telling you. Woo dog. So then the other items you got to ask yourself, like I said, the beer maker. If you're a beer drinker, go for the beer drinker. Yeah, on that. And if you're a person who likes sandwiches, go with the sandwich maker. But the thing is, you don't need every appliance to make things. Yeah, it makes life easier, but how many of you out there is going to turn around and basically buy a double header sandwich maker, make 2 sandwiches at once? I mean, literally, you got to ask yourself, how much is the sandwich going to be when you get done making it? You got the machine, but then it costs money for the egg. Then it costs money for the bread, and it costs money for the English muffins or the croissants or the hoagies or whatever else, and you throw it all together. You got your meats. When you're there, cook it all together once. Then you look at and break down the thing. I may fall asleep. You're always falling asleep. You see, the bread maker is a must. Yes, the bread maker is a must. Popcorn maker is a must too, because but you also got to ask yourself for a bug out situation. Are you going to be taking your bread maker with you? No, that's why I said in the beginning of the video before Zoe showed up is if you're going to buy and make bread, you always train yourself with a Dutch oven. Over the counter on a burner like propane stove, butane stove, Coleman fuel, and just cook it that way. And then the secondary is to learn to use it with bread maker, with electric bread maker. As long as you have your bread making capabilities learned for both sides, master it, you won't have any problems. Now, it comes up beer drinking. Let's just say if you're a beer drinker and you know the SHTF, beer is going to get harder and harder to get a hold of, buy yourself a beer kit. Beer kit's going to come in handy to no end. And when it does, you're going to enjoy yourself. Yeah, well, glad you see me live. I spent so much time on Discord with several preppers today. One prepper in particular was addicted to lists. I'm like, look, if you're going to be buying stuff and nice stuff and fine stuff and grocery stuff, you better get it done, because I want to talk about that too. But a lot of people sit there and say, well, what about me buying this appliance? It's got a 4-cup coffee pot, a griddle on the top, and a roasting pan, and then a toaster. To me, it's not worth the money. You don't need. You can basically buy a percolator, and if the power goes out, you just use a percolator. And if you really are cheap or wealthy, you can buy yourself one of those little devices that actually heat your coffee up with a 16.9 propane tank. Just drips the coffee that way. Just put the can in there and set the coffee up, and the Coleman drips it. They used to have these like little drip machines, right? You just put it on one of those burners. You're like, what burners? One of those 1 to 3 burner camp stoves, mostly the 2-person Coleman dual fuels. And then you fill the water up. And it's like just a regular drip coffee thing. You just do something, and as the stove's heating it up, it drips the coffee down. It's like steam power or something, right? And, someone will say to me, oh, Rita, how come you're so knowledgeable? Because I can. But thing is these are the appliances you got to ask yourself, are you willing to invest in, or if you're going to save your money. I would only buy the appliances that are completely and entirely needed. That's what it is. Entirely needed, right? Think of it this way. In a pandemic situation, how much are you going to basically be spending? Bread maker, get the bread maker. You first, Zoe. You see, I already went into my prepper's budget, right? I was talking to Chloe before this video. And it says bread maker. I don't think I can basically budget from anything. Shopping cart comes first. We need one. We're going to start filling this freezer up bigger and bigger, but people don't realize shopping cart comes first. A bread maker comes second. People say, oh, why don't you take your gift cards and invest in a shopping cart and a bread maker? Because it's not my job to take my gift cards that I've earned and buy a bread maker or a shopping cart. I'm not greedy. I'm not being selfish. I'm not being narcissistic. But some of those gift cards that's on my account, I paid out of my own money, specifically stacking it for a scanner. I'm not going to fail myself because of it. We already got it. If I have to pay outright next month for a bread maker and a cart, I will. Chloe should pick up one of the tabs. She can't just sit around. She wants bread. There's instructions on how to make bread. I mean, literally look at it from a prepper's point of view. Time's getting closer. You have to look at your pricing. Okay, I'm not trying to be stingy. I'm not even going to ask for a bread maker today. Okay, I just said, you go first. So jokingly, of course. But my point is think about it. I'm not spending my money because I had to put in hundreds and hundreds of dollars to get to where my credits are right now on Amazon, specifically for my scanner. It's not my job to tap into my money because I have to save an earmark for something. I mean, look, it was originally going to go for a fucking TV, people, but you know what? It didn't go that way. By the way, I hate these socks. When they get thinner and thinner, they roll up. So when some of you people are like, oh, I also need to take a bath, but the point is I need to get clean. I got blood stains on my some of my nails, because my nails pop off at times, and don't know why. It's not fungus. They just pop off. And anyway, enough about my nails, right? So he's like, oh, glad you're alive. Well, point being is you got to look at every appliance you want to buy and ask yourself, is it going to be worth the money? Dehydrator and a food processor, maybe. But the thing is, how much meat are you going to dehydrate? How much jerky are you going to make? How much fruits are you going to make? I mean, literally, you dehydrate your foods and then put it in Ziploc bags and freeze it. You take actual fruit. Fruit does get damaged. What do you think they call it? When farmers have excess crops, they just put it in cold storage because that's what they do. They don't expire. They put it in that deep cold storage freeze. Think about it. You don't need to worry about it. And you can basically take your fruit as you need it and put it in little baggies and then take out one apple to make it for your lunch, or one apple with the, whatever. The thing is, you need to ask yourself, how many appliances do you need? I mean, I don't know how many appliances out there in the world, but some people don't need 300 items in their house. Unless you're a wealthy person, you have your entire kitchen decked out with everything: deep fryer, air fryer, bake fryer, this fryer, that fryer, toast fryer, this thing, French fry maker. I mean, literally, coffee pot, coffee maker, percolator. I mean, if you look at the big picture here, how much, rotisserie. Someone said, oh, what about a rotisserie? Depends on how big the rotisserie is and what you're doing with it. If you're going to air fry a rotisserie, you want something going to hold 3 or 4 chickens. You got to ask yourself, how much are you willing to spend and what are you rotisserie? If you're going to rotisserie a duck, they're between 5 and 7 pounds. If you're going to rotisserie a goose, that's between 9 and 15 pounds. If you're going to do a turkey, that could be up to 30 pounds, give or take. And, give or take. And then you have the other items that you might get in a bigger air fryer, which could be, whole chickens, capons, or a whole roll of Cornish game hens. Then on the other hand, with the air fryer, they might come with a convection oven, which has a turntable that makes like a convection oven for pizza. Hey, Pee Wee. So the point is, I spent 4 hours talking about appliances today with someone on Discord, and let me tell you, that's where we came up with today's idea for talking about, and then how are you doing, Pee Wee? Then you look at the price of bread. Average price is $3.50 a loaf. It's like $4.50 for sourdough. So if you get everything together with the bread maker, you can make your own bread at home. It's an appliance I would recommend. Yes, but some people live in an apartment, Mom, and they don't have the counter space. I mean, look, I've been pestered for an air fryer, and I don't have any place to put the air fryer. I think between the oven and the dishwasher and everything else in the kitchen, I think my router is failing slowly. I had to reset it 3 times last night watching Pearl Harbor, which someone said that's not a love movie. In my opinion, it's a love movie. That's an action movie. Well, that's your opinion, not mine. Everyone has their own damn opinion. Oh yeah, see, she's just sitting there like, oh, that reminds me. I'm gonna poke fun at the, well, I don't know, the California otter here. I'm gonna call her an otter. The California otter here is like, oh yes, I need to make bread. I mean, we're just bringing up prepping tools. I mean, that, yeah, a lot of people say, how many appliances. You only need the basics to survive during a shit hit the fan situation, which is either Article 5 of NATO, or in a worst case scenario, banking collapse, which means you need to have everything you need in order to do things. I mean, look, I said in the beginning of my video, the food bank's now doubling up on everything. 10 pounds of flour, 10 pounds of sugar, 8 cans of soups, 8 cans of chilies, 8 cans of this. Literally, they're basically doubling up because of why? Something's coming down the pipe. Yeah. And I couldn't believe it. What is it? I got 8 pork chops today. I think I might do a pork chop dinner tomorrow night, Sunday anyway. Sunday, 8 pork chop dinner. Pork chop dinner. See, that'd basically be funny. Poke the otter. Supposed to be funny. The bear's happy to talk about this. I frankly don't care, but someone told me to get off my butt and make a video. They were like, I'm gonna go take a nap. Good, take a nap. Time you get done with the nap, the video is made, and I can go on to my thing, which is I got 3 or 4 videos to watch. I can sit me on prepping itself. And by the way, everyone, I don't know if Mama Pee Wee heard this, but since she's with us right now, I got to tell you something. I want to show you something. In the window there, if you can see the cable, I think the $9 purchase was very well worth it waiting so long to get it that now it's saving me $82 a month in batteries. I know Mama Pee Wee was talking about buy batteries. Well, the plug came for $9, plugs in there, and now you know what? I'm loving listening to it. $9. Then I save all my extra batteries now. Love it. I don't even have to do much. Just got in. Love that little scanner. And so a lot of people say, "Oh, go buy a bread maker." I'm not buying a bread maker for myself. I frankly, the thing is that people will give us flour, but you need to have yeast, so you got to invest in yeast. When you buy yeast and you get sourdough starter and everything else, you can make bread. Problem is, there's a lot of people don't think about the concept of making bread. My grandmother used to knead bread every day, and have it ready to roll. They said it was cheaper to buy bread at home than it is to make it, buy it at the store. Maybe. I love my mom and grandmother. Some bread? Yeah. Glad you're going to make some bread. I'm actually jealous, but at the same time, I don't have the counter space for everything. So I got to basically sit there and put in what I need to get first, which is a shopping cart. See, our shopping cart broke, and the current shopping cart I want, I'll show you guys. It's in the preppers list, by the way. It will hold 440 pounds. You got to assemble it, of course. But the thing about the preppers list is I want to buy this next month. I'm actually budgeting for it. I'm not tapping into my gift cards because my gift cards are emergency. I've decided that if I'm buying something, it's going to sit there. I'm going to use my debit card only and use my credits for emergency situation, for things that we might need. Otherwise, I'm not tapping into it. So when someone says buy a bread maker, I don't have the room for a bread maker. But let me just show you the shopping list. Where the hell is that shopping cart anyways? It was here, wasn't it? It was on my preppers list. Oh, here it is. Okay, so for example, here's the shopping cart, right? So I want to put together and buy one of these, okay? Let me just do 100. All right, so 200% per second, right? So it shows right here, right? It says 440-pound shopping cart, extra jumbo shopping cart. See, this is what I'm saving for next month. I'm paying outright. It's $130, right? This is something that will come in handy for groceries. I'm basically doing this because our cooler, it can't hold up nearly enough. So if I get this will come in handy for buying everything. Now, comes to Walmart, there's 2 things you got to think about for carts, okay, for Walmart if you're going by hand. You get enough tickets on ferries that you buy one day for cans, the next day for meat. So the first day for meats, the next day for cans. That's where you utilize the first the shopping thing and the second that. Now, if you find a way to convert that into a portable cooler to hold all your meats without expiring, going 8 hours round trip, from Walmart to ferry to whatever, then you might be able to do it. Unless you keep your cart outside, you need to have ice. So you got to ask yourself, how much are you willing to carry? Yeah, that's the thing. If everything is, and you make sure that there's a limit. But this is the idea I'm going to be buying next month because I think this is our cart broke. See this? Look at this. $129. That's what I'm paying, and that's what I'm going to buy. But That isn't an emergency item. My credit is only my credit savings thing is only going to be used for emergency. So I'm gonna buy this, and then eventually I will buy a bread maker afterwards. But that cart is a must, and that's why I'm sharing it with you because it is a must. If you don't have a cart that carries the groceries, I mean my cart's wheels fell off. We replaced the wheels, cost us $30, lasted another 18 months, and it fell apart. So this time around, I'm trying that cart for money savings. So, and I love sharing share with you guys, anyways. So, anywho, what she said, some people like fishing poles. Well, we're all entitled to something, Mom. That's the thing. The truth is in the pudding, literally. Think about it. I mean, I'm entitled to what I like, but you know what? I'm not going to ram it down your throat. No, I would love to have every appliance under the sun. You know that. I grew up with my husband who was a cook. And my husband, oh God. I was just talking to someone today about how to prepare buffalo wings, and they're like, oh, that sounds interesting. Yeah. Well, guess what? I'm a cook. I know what I'm doing. Fortunately, I know so much about cooking, it's not funny. But I like store-bought bread better. Yeah, but are you willing to pay $3.50 to $5.50 on average for a loaf of bread? Tell me that. I mean, look at some of these preppers, Mom. They basically sit there and they're worried about their beer supply going out. Buy a beer kit. Make your own beer at home. No one cares as long as you basically prep. If you're going to sit here and talk the talk, you better walk the walk. That's the thing. That's what I said. I mean, look at last night, for example, right? I was talking to a couple of preppers, and we're all talking about prepping, right? One person said, oh, the more gift cards you have, you could lose your soul or some Matthew 16:20 is like a big deal, right? Then said, oh, if it makes you happy, it's better to send or to give than to receive, right? I don't want a gift card. Thing is, my point is, someone brings up a gift card and says, oh, I'll send a gift card to everyone who's on my channel to light a fire under their ass. Then find out who my preppers are and send them a gift card. You walk the walk, you better talk the talk. If you talk the talk, you better walk the walk. Then said something about gift cards to me, right? I don't want one. Thing is, I always make a joke about the gift cards, but you see me, I'm here today. Zoe gave me an idea. You better make sure to get the appliance thing set up. I have a coffee grinder. I have a crock pot. You used to have a deep fryer. But you got to ask in a prepping situation, what will come in handy and what won't. By the way, for you preppers out there saying, oh, I need a deep fryer, I want to ask you a question about deep frying. Are you willing to basically have in your prepper's arsenal a deep fryer for French fries, buffalo wings, etc.? Or are you going to be like some preppers out there, i.e. me, the pack leaders, Keldor says, and weigh the pros and cons to using peanut oil, canola oil, vegetable oil, frying oil, whatever, and saying, I mean, literally, think about it. Are you going to literally waste $20 for a gallon of oil to put in that deep fryer? Or are you going to basically be so penny pinching miserly, you're going to say no? Now, maybe after the entire Great Depression's over, you invest in a deep fryer, but not beforehand. Why? Because everyone is going to need to basically conserve their supplies. That includes cooking oil. Yeah, think about it. People don't think about that. They just sit there and say, oh, I'm going to prepare whatever. Yeah, let's see. What is this? But the heavy, but that gets heavy when it's full, and an insulated bag in that would work good too. Yeah, I'm thinking of buying one of those carts. I just need some advice on how to make it so it can carry all the meat home without without the meat going bad. My grandson is a chef. My husband is a 5-star chef. His buddies were all chefs, so I know so many damn recipes that ain't even funny. Hell, I found his cookbook the other day. I thought about sharing a few recipes on YouTube when I get my tripod. But a tripod, as you know, costs money. Yeah. Hey, Eggs, what's up? Are you drinking some malt liquor today, buddy? Anyways, so basically, as anyone, I know Pee-wee's watching, you are, can you prove it? Let me see. Lowell Higgins emailed me saying he doesn't believe it. that I'm alive or whatever. But you guys get the idea for the preppers list, right? So I have to basically, and then on top of that, I had a couple of people email me, right? They're kind of annoying people, saying, this afternoon, annoying, but I'll say it anyways, just be funny, right? So we got a, Chloe, I got to talk about comments for a bit, right? So my video from last night, Coffee Time with Rita, preparing laziness, freeloaders, moochers, new and more, right? So Tildor basically turned around and says, I will send you a gift card if that makes you happy. It doesn't make me happy. What matters is you walk the walk and talk the talk. Chloe basically said, look, you can't bark up me to tell me to get my flock in order when I'm doing my job right now. Think about it. Chloe basically said this. And I don't want to prove it, Chloe, but you know what? This is what Chloe said. I'm not sure what's going on between you and Rita, but she doesn't want you acting like she isn't prepping when she is prepping. You need to be more respectful on that part. I may have my problems, but I do have respect on the preppers part. You aren't the one running the channel. Rita is running. And then on the back, way down the list, she said, where's the gift card you promised, Series guys? He didn't say he promised, but she was basically, thinking. So I've had a couple of emails that came in, and people are like, because I was talking to you guys and everything else and stuff, we're talking about, today's appliances. Someone said to me, why not ask Tildor if he's talking about gift cards, a bread maker? I'm not going to ask because, frankly, I'm tired of it. I'm tired of basically told that I'm not prepping when I am. I mean, look, how many people out there come online every day talking about prepping? No, not many. The mega preppers are like, oh, yeah, you got it. I mean, I went through last night with the mega preppers, and most of the mega preppers are bullshit, literally. And I was talking about, what the problem is? I'll tell you, if you have a preppers list, you're not filling it, you're not doing your part in your country because you got to prepare. You don't want to sit there and basically say where, let me put it this way, okay? I'm going to say this for Pee Wee's sake, for Higgins' sake, for Fanny's sake. Bless Fanny, by the way. She hasn't been on for days. I know what's going on, but I'm not at liberty to tell you. Then there's Higgins, and then Zoe, and then Pee Wee, and then Chloe, and Zoe, etc., right? And Tildor, right? But my point is, I'm doing my damnest, okay? There's people out there that come to my channel, 3 views, 4 views, 5 views, 10 views, whatever, right? They don't post comments. They're all hiding in the shadows. If you're not going to post a comment, then get off my channel. Because frankly, here's the deal. The deal is I'm not here for your entertainment. I'm here for seriousness, all 100% seriousness. We're going to have either nuclear war, a banking collapse, and you guys are sitting around debating what you need to buy for your prepping list. Think about it. I'm a prepper. I just basically rechecked my preps. I got 150 pounds of flour right now and about 80 pounds of sugar. And probably about 90 pounds of oatmeal. That stuff doesn't expire, right? So think about it. Food bank's now doubling up everything. My prepper's little pantry is going to get bigger. And yet I just ordered some more preps myself. And then I'm not telling you what I ordered because it's none of your damn business. My problem is having some Peckerwoods turn around and say, ooh, I don't even remember what I was going to say. And no, I've only had one beer, so don't worry. I'm not trying to kill my brain. It was, it pisses me off to no end when people say I'm not prepping. I'm the one here basically giving you guys the ideas. Bread maker, definitely, unless you like store-bought bread. Poke the otter for once. I'm just being funny. I love poking the otter. I'm not trying to be abusive. Poke the otter. And you like store-bought bread, then go ahead and spend. My motto is this. Okay, I'm going to say this. Mama Pee Wee knows this. Mama Fanny knows this. Higgins knows this. Zoe knows this. Pee Wee, everyone knows this. It's your money. You do what you want with it. I can only give advice. But me, I'd rather have store-bought too, but I'd rather save $3.50 a loaf if I have to live on peanut butter and jelly for who knows, right? Fortunately, my problem is so my point is everyone has their own opinions. I can only give you mine. I'm not here to push my views or push what's going to happen in the future. But I'm telling you that, there's people out there, and I love Pee Wee. I love Higgins. I love Zoe. I love Shithead in the bedroom. I love everyone as a person. And yet, I don't like when someone tells me what I have to do. I mean, look, I'm still reviewing the notes for Pee Wee's videos, Nuclear War. It's taking me time. I got other videos to go through first. My email's getting cluttered, and it's not easy. And, and then today I was supposed to do spreadsheets, but I spent, 4 hours with someone talking about bread makers and Amazon lists. So when I got done, I was like, that day went to shit. I mean, literally. But my point is, let's go through the comments. Drink cranberry juice and Verner's. Cranberry juice with Verner's. Love Verner's. That Moxie's pretty good too. I think it's called Moxie, right? Yeah. Man, it takes like 3 hours to finish 2-pound loaf. 3 hours? You gotta be fucking kidding me. Try to use electric itself. Yeah, that's the thing, you see? Perfect, yeah. See, there you go. Perfect prepping point is you either got to basically weigh the cons. Do you use propane? Do you use electric? Or do you use something else? I know natural gas is getting expensive too. She's basically out where she's stuck with propane. I think she lives in a house that's what is it, in the 1840s or something, jokingly, of course, like one of those old farmhouses from like 1776, and it requires, when they updated it to propane, they're like, oh yeah, wood stove to propane. Propane says poke the otter. But point being is, look at it from that point of view. You got to basically 3 hours to make a loaf of bread. I mean, literally. That's why they have all these settings and digital doodads where you just throw your bread in there. It's already set up, and you just cook it and let it rise inside the pan. And then once it rises after overnight while you're sleeping, you have your coffee. You're like, beep, beep, beep. And it's like, zzz. I have a friend of mine that has one of those. She said every morning she has her cup of coffee in the morning when she was working, and she'd be like this. Coffee's ready. She'd pour it, and then she'd push a button like this, and all of a sudden her bread started cooking. She says like an hour and a half later, when she's getting ready to go to work, she'd pull out, put it to cool, cut it up, put them in bags, make sandwich with it. Apparently her husband didn't like it because it was like every day it was the same thing with the bread, But you can leave it overnight, and then in the morning you just push a button, like she did, Barb, and be like beep. And then when she got out of the shower, all she had to do was cut the bread, put it away, and she's like, "Oh, I do it." And then when she gets home, she cleans it out, and then she puts it all together again, goes to bed. The next morning, the same thing. It's already rising or some digital jobby, and then she's like beep 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 beep. I mean, that's the way to do it, man. For bread, all you have to do is put everything together, and then you don't have to worry. Because, if you're just basically getting this idea that you want to prep and make bread and it frees your bread, and you're like, oh, I need to make bread. And then you're sitting there and you're thinking, oh, I better do it, right? But if you have a situation where you basically got scheduled every night, clean bread pan, put bread ingredients in it, let it rise overnight. And the next morning, as you're having your coffee, you're like, beep, 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 beep. I mean, that would be the perfect bread maker for me. Get up in the morning, push a button, and be like, okay, I got a loaf of bread. I can make my sandwiches today, or sop up, I mean, literally. Look at that one guy. Have you ever seen the guy in Alaska? He died, of course. There's a recipe how he makes sourdough starter, and then every day he makes a little loaf of bread. And he cooks it on a solar bread cooker thingy, and then he pulls it out, and then he lets it cook, and then, he has his tea and something. He's got it all prepped in the morning, so all he does is make it every morning, I mean, damn, that's good. Let's see, Pee Wee says, interesting point, perfect for everyone. Everyone has here as well. Yes, I was making fun of Mama Pee Wee. I said maybe she lives in a house from 1776 and they changed over to propane, and they didn't think about natural gas or electric. Come on, I'm poking the otter for once. I don't know how old her house is. I'm just being funny here. A little humor. The only one that exaggerates is someone who makes a large list and says, oh, I think I'll buy this in 3 months, and then the shit hits the fan, and there's nothing to buy. Exaggeration. No, I'm just basically being humorous. A little comment. Someone sits there and says, "Oh, Rita likes it." I don't like to exaggerate. My opinion wasn't exaggerating. I was making a comment. My comment is, "How old is it? We don't know." How old is it? Mom said 1950. We don't know. If it's any consolation, you Mama Pee Wee, Poppy's house, he's got the original 1950 shag carpeting. They were so cheap, they never updated it. So he had his roof done, he had his water tank done, he had his furnace done, he had his extensions fixed after the snowstorm, but he's never replaced the shag carpeting or the toilets in the place. I mean, the carpet's freaking 50 plus years old by itself. I don't exaggerate. Oh yeah, pick on me now, Higgins. You know what? Keep picking on me. You know that's what you want to do. That's fine, but maybe you should invest in a bread maker, Higgins. I forgot. Higgins is the type of person if you can't buy it at the store. Now let me tell you, I have a couple things to tell you. Okay, as you can see, I saw it said beer time with Rita. The beer time with Rita is. Oh, by the way, not one of our people today has messaged this morning on the yeah, well, you must have had the financing in 1999 to build it, but whatever floats your boat, Mom. I got a story to tell you also. Give me a second because this is more important than talking about houses because we're going into an economic collapse. So to be funny for the argument, okay, I want to say something serious. Oregon has just cut out their food stamps, okay? They're not giving any more pandemic food stamps, okay? States are basically cutting it off, preparing for the worst, and yet food banks are giving more food. So you got to ask yourself what's going to happen in the future. I, on the other hand, don't know. But I don't want to be here, I knew that was coming. I didn't own it in 1999. Well, let's just get to the crux of the problem here, okay? But I'm just being funny, okay? Mama Fanny or Mama Pee Wee should basically appreciate it. I do have a little sense of humor once in a while about houses, okay? And yes, Poppy's house is 1950 and he's never upgraded except the roof. But he's still got the original 1950 windows. He's that fucking cheap. His grandmother and his mother and his father was cheap too. But we're not going to go into that stuff, okay? Bottom line is the food bank is giving extra food. You got to take that as a premonition right there, or is a thought. Food for thought. More food, cutting out the pandemic food stamp relief. That tells you right there something's coming down the pipe. And a lot of people are like, "Oh yeah," and then when they get cut off, I mean, look, I'm the prepper, okay? I'm the teacher, right? Teachers got to think about this. Chloe came back, oh yeah, we got it. I'm like going through it and I'm going, this is double of everything. That's what I was telling someone who was on Discord. And they're like, oh, maybe. So if it's not nuclear war and it ain't freaking this, they're talking about cutting off every state of that. There is no money. There is no debt ceiling. They can't give anyone food stamps, so they're cutting people off. Okay. I didn't own it, and I didn't poke the bear, especially wondering. I'm not drunk. That's the thing. I'm not drunk, Zoe. That's the thing. I am not drunk. I had one beer. You were supposed to be sleeping. But the point is for the sake of the argument, you got to look at the food stamps, okay, the food banks and everything else. If the food banks are giving double there, and it's a new food bank, by the way, they updated it, and then there's a problem coming down the pipe, and we have to look into it. I was talking to Zoe about some prepping tools today, too, by the way, something that she was asking me. That was very important. And that importance was, but not limited to, Americans, when you're prepping, right? You need to look at the big picture. Food banks are literally giving double, okay? That's a sign right there. That's the word I want to use, a sign. Same time, as I was telling Zoe, if you look at supply and demand, okay, food demands are through the roof. She's like, how come Jello's so high? Supply and demand. If you look at the supply and demand of the foods that people like to eat, it's through the roof. But if you take the supply and demand of food, calibrate it to say the supply and demand of people buying phones, internet, toys, computers, games, etc., those are going down. It's not about 2022 models they're trying to sell. They're literally turning around and basically lowering prices on everything because of the fact that something's coming down the pipe. Another telltale is if no one's buying electronics, they know something's coming down the pipe. Let me just tell you something, okay? I don't appreciate Higgins basically being a smartass on my channel, okay? No one gives a shit about your $95, okay? You should be grateful you have it because, frankly, I'm going to say this once and once only. And I'm not rude, I'm not angry, I'm not mad. But while you sit there and say, I got $95, there's people in other states that are in blue states like you that don't have a fucking dime because the government took it away. And be happy you got it because, frankly, here's the kicker. Without a budget cap raise, they're taking away food stamps. They're going to take away, but not limited to taking away food stamps, Medicaid. What happens if you can't get your meds? What happens if you can't see a doctor? They're going to take away Medicare. What if your family can't get Medicare and they can't get the prescription coverage and they can't get anything because they took it all away? What if they take away your SSI, your SSDI, your survivors, retirement, everything except for state government pensions? Then what? Think about it. This could be coming down the fucking pipe. We have to prepare for it. But people don't believe it. They think that the land of milk and honey is here. So, anyways, apparently there's a fucking internet trouble. No, it didn't freeze, Higgins. It basically went bye-bye, okay? Apparently, I'm going to need to call the internet company and find out why we're having hiccups. So, I'm going to call them. I might mute, but I'm still calling them. So, my damn phone before I fucking get mad. Chloe, I need my phone. You have it. Your phone? All right, I need to call Ron.